Welcome to Real Crime Zone, where we dig deep into the most chilling and unbelievable crimes. Today's story is one you won't easily forget. A simple sleepover that took a dark and tragic turn. What started as a normal night ended with 7 bodies discovered at a home in Henrietta, Oklahoma. It's a case filled with heartbreak, confusion, and questions that still haunt everyone involved. On Monday, May 1st, 2023, a shocking scene unfolded in Henrietta, Oklahoma. Authorities discovered 7 bodies at a rental property owned by Jesse McFadden. The victims included McFadden's wife, Holly Guest, 35, his children, Riley Elizabeth Allen, 17, Michael James Mayo, 15, and Tiffany Dore Guest, 13. Also found were Ivy Webster, 14, and Brittany Brewer, 15, who had come over for a sleepover. How would such a nightmare happen? Who were the people involved, and who was the person responsible for this tragedy? Join us as we unravel this shocking case piece by piece and understand the whole scenario right from the very beginning. Around a year ago in Henrietta, Oklahoma, a tragic story unfolded involving Holly Guest, a 35-year-old mother of 3. Holly had 2 daughters, Tiffany Dore Guest, just 13, and Riley Elizabeth Allen, 17. She also had a 15-year-old son, Michael James Mayo. Though the children had different fathers, they all looked up to Tiffany's dad, Joe, as their father figure. Joe wasn't just a father figure, he was a rock in their lives. Even after his marriage with Holly ended, Joe remained a constant presence, especially in Riley's life since she was very young. His loving care never wavered, and he even wanted to adopt Michael and Riley. But things took a dark turn when Holly remarried on May 26, 2012. She married Jesse McFadden, a man who would soon reveal a shocking and disturbing side. From the outside, Holly's new marriage seemed like a fairy tale, a happy family blending together seamlessly. However, beneath the surface, Jesse's dark past was about to come to light. No one anticipated what was about to happen. What looked like a perfect family setup was hiding a terrible secret that would soon lead to a tragic and unimaginable outcome. So who exactly was Jesse? Jesse McFadden's history with the law was troubling long before the Henrietta murders. Born in Kansas, he left school after 9th grade and started facing legal issues in McAlester. His first run-in with the law was for underage beer possession. In 2002, McFadden admitted to stealing over $80,000 from his grandfather, leading to a grand larceny conviction. That same year, he was also arrested twice for driving with a suspended license. By 2003, McFadden's criminal record grew darker. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison for physically abusing a 17-year-old girl at knife point. Even in prison, his behavior remained problematic. In 2013, he was caught with a cell phone after a woman reported he had been sending her messages for months. And so McFadden's issues continued. In 2016, he was caught with another phone, which led to new charges in 2017. This time, he faced accusations of sex crimes based on the materials found on his phone. One charge of sexting with an underage girl named Caitlin, and another for possessing juvenile pornography. But despite these serious violations, McFadden was released on October 30, 2020, after serving 85% of his sentence. He received credit for good behavior and time served. After his release, he was briefly arrested again in Muskogee County Jail for the 2017 sex case, but was quickly released on bail. But the legal troubles didn't end there. Over the next 5 years, his case faced numerous delays. McFadden was scheduled to appear in court for his pornography charges on May 1st. But tragically, the very day his victims' bodies were discovered. Now, it's important to note that during the delays in his trials, Jesse got married to Holly Guest and became a stepfather to their 3 children. Jesse had a background check done before he could be around the kids, and Holly assured Joe that everything was clear. But as the trial approached on May 1st, 2023, there were questions about whether Holly ignored Jesse's shady past or simply missed it. Speaking of that, let's have a look at the terrible incident. The nightmare began on the last weekend of April 2023. Ivy and Brittany, along with a couple of other girls who chose not to join, had been invited to spend time at Tiffany's place. Jesse McFadden picked up Brittany on Saturday afternoon, and the plan was to take the girls shopping at the mall and to Main Event, a family entertainment center in Tulsa. Throughout that night, Ivy kept her mom, Ashley Webster, updated with Snapchat messages. Everything seemed normal until the next morning. Ivy and Brittany's parents received texts from their daughter saying they were heading to the McFadden family property in McAllister. But when Monday rolled around, the parents noticed something alarming. Their children, including Tiffany, Michael, and Riley, were not on the school bus. This was the first sign that something was terribly wrong. Concerned, the parents reported the kids as missing. Speaking of which, Jesse McFadden was scheduled to appear in court that same Monday, but he didn't show up. Officers went to his property, hoping to get a warrant, but when they finally did, they found a horrific scene. 7 bodies were discovered scattered across the property. The bodies were those of Jesse McFadden, his wife Holly, his stepchildren Tiffany, Michael, and Riley, and their friends Ivy and Brittany. Members of a task force from the prosecutor's office visited the property twice that Monday. They were there because they had reason to believe the missing teens might be with someone connected to the property. Gerald Davidson, a spokesperson for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, said authorities found the bodies during their second visit around 3 p.m. The 2 missing teens, Ivy Webster, 14, and Brittany Brewer, 16, were last seen at 1:22 a.m. On Monday, at an unknown address in Henrietta, it is believed that they were traveling with McFadden in his white Chevy Avalanche. However, the authorities have not explained why the girls would have been with him. The victims were all shot in the head with a 9mm pistol. Holly McFadden had 3 gunshot wounds to the head. Jesse McFadden appeared to have shot himself. The bodies were found in 2 separate areas of the property, some near the house and others in a wooded area. This suggested that the killings might have occurred in different spots, and then the bodies moved. Investigators quickly pieced together that Jesse had killed his family and their friends before taking his own life. The motive behind these killings remains unclear, but it's chilling to think that Jesse might have committed these crimes to keep his dark past buried and prevent his family from learning the truth. The night before the trial, Jesse sent disturbing messages to Caitlin, the woman from his previous case. He blamed her for his life falling apart, expressing frustration and anger about returning to prison. In his messages, he mentioned how he had built a good life but felt it was ruined because of her. Caitlin took screenshots of these messages and sent them to the district attorney. That morning, she received a call from the prosecutor. The news was not good. The trial against McFadden had been delayed again. This time it was due to an issue with McFadden's phone. Just half an hour later, Caitlin's phone rang again. This time, the news was far more alarming. A missing persons report had been filed involving Jesse McFadden, Brittany Brewer, and Ivy Webster. Realizing the potential danger, Caitlin quickly packed a bag and found a place to stay 45 minutes away, worried that Jesse might come looking for her. Around the same time, Crystal Smith, one of Jesse's earlier victims, spoke out about her traumatic experience and the horror she felt learning about the murders. She had once begged the district attorney not to let Jesse go free, fearing he would hurt others. She hadn't heard about him since she was 17, when someone told her he was high on meth and sorry for what he'd done. But news of the recent tragedy brought back her worst memories. In an interview, she shared how Jesse had attacked her when she was 16. After a party, he showed up at her house, saying he needed a place to stay because his wife had kicked him out. She tried to turn him away, but he forced his way in, gagged her, tied her up, and subjected her to horrific abuse. As the details of the case unfolded, Caitlin found herself caught in a storm of emotions: guilt, anger, frustration, and deep grief over the loss of the victims. Meanwhile, the families of Ivy Webster and Brittany Brewer were reeling from shock. They had no idea about Jesse's criminal past. To them, a weekend sleepover was supposed to be a normal fun event. Nathan Brewer, Brittany's father had always thought Jesse seemed like a nice guy. Ivy's mom, Ashley Webster, echoed these feelings, saying their families had been friends since the late 2020, and she had no clue about his dark history. Ashley described how Ivy and Tiffany, Jesse's stepdaughter, were inseparable best friends. Tiffany was like another daughter to her family. Holly's mother, Jeanette Mayo, was also shocked by what had happened. She shared how Jesse had used this charm to manipulate and deceive Holly. Jeanette had noticed how controlling Jesse was. He decided where Holly could go, who she could see, and even tracked the kids' cell phones. Jesse kept his distance around Jeanette and her husband, which they found strange and unsettling. Then, months before the murders, Jeanette's husband accidentally discovered Jesse's criminal record while searching for a co-worker's background. When they confronted Holly about it, she eventually asked Jesse for an explanation. Jesse, with his twisted mind, went as far as hiring someone to convince Holly that his past legal troubles were just a misunderstanding. He told her he had never harmed anyone back in 2003. Holly believed him, partly because he had apparently passed a background check, even though this didn't sit well with her parents. All of this paints a chilling picture of a man who used deception, charm, and manipulation to hide his dangerous past. His actions brought heartbreak and tragedy to so many families. It is clear that Jesse McFadden's history should have been a warning sign, but instead, it was covered up, leading to a nightmare no one could have imagined. The events leading to the deaths of 7 people in Henrietta, Oklahoma, remains a mystery, and authorities have shared very few details. Okmulgee County Sheriff Eddie Rice has been tight-lipped about what happened. The news sent shockwaves through the small town of Henrietta, which has a population of about 6,000. The unanswered questions surrounding the case have left the community on edge. But not just that. The case also raises many questions about McFadden's troubling behaviors and why he was even set free. This case is a haunting reminder of how much can be hidden behind closed doors and how little we truly know about the people we think we can trust. The heartbreaking stories of Ivy, Brittany, and the other victims are cries for justice that won't be silenced, even with the perpetrator gone. But there are still so many questions left unanswered. What more could be done to bring closure to the families? How can we prevent something like this from happening again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining us on this episode. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with our next in-depth investigations on Real Crime Zone. See you in our next video.